everybody. So that noise tells us that our meeting's going to start. So if everyone could have a seat, please, that would be great. There should be a sign-in sheet for everybody as well. So I'd like to call the meeting to order. And we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So first I'm looking for a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Conflict of interest.
Now I have to do that. So now I'd like to see if there's a conflict of interest of anybody in regards to the board.
None.
None. Okay. So we have a request for, I don't see the property address on here though. They didn't give me an agenda, so I'm strictly going by what. Okay. So there's a variance application from Christopher and Elizabeth Gottwald requesting to construct a roundabout driveway with a second access point located at 510 Evergreen Parkway. If we could have Christopher or Elizabeth step to the podium, please.
Christopher is deceased, so this is me.
Okay.
I'm really nervous and I don't really know what I'm supposed to do, so I'll just kind of read.
You're just supposed to explain to us what it is that you're looking to do and I guess why.
Okay. I'm requesting a variance to allow the completion of a roundabout driveway on my property to improve safety, accessibility, and ease for use for myself, my neighbors, my family. The current driveway requires people to back out next to a stone wall towards the park where there's soccer and activities going on. That creates hazardous situation. The current driveway also has a slope that is icy and snowy in the winter. And one of my husband's, I'll just tell you a story. My husband would sit in the window while he was not well, and he would watch and wave to everybody in the neighborhood as they came by. And when my mother passed away, I started to, my dad said I'm not cooking, so he started coming to my house for dinner every night with my boys and family. And it was a constant concern of my husband as he would watch him park and walk up, and commented many times how lovely it would be if there could be a way to drive through. And in the neighborhood next to me, across the street, and on both sides, they have drive-through driveways. So so I will continue with that. It's just my personal story that I thought I'd share. I also have friends and family who come over quite frequently, and I will be the caregiver once again. And so for drop-off and whatnot, I felt like it would be a nice safety venue for people who may be assisting in those situations, which I've had experience with before. The other thing is other neighborhoods properties in the immediate vicinity already have the roundabout drive-throughs. So the request will bring our home in alignment with what is already established in character in the neighborhood without disrupting the visual or functional consistency of the area. I mentioned it'll improve the safety, I believe, for the people at the park and whatnot. Also, the 528 Evergreen Parkway is the one to the west with the driveway, then the 3004, and I have nice, support, beautiful people in my neighborhood here to kind of have a voice for these, for me and family and friends. That one is to the north, that has a roundabout driveway. Then 2901 Evergreen Parkway, the neighbor to the east directly across the street, has the roundabout driveway. Then just kind of sum up things. I'm just kind of helping everyone understand how the form looked. I'm requesting this variance from the City of Sheboygan zoning code that limits or restricts the construction of a roundabout driveway to residential districts. I'm seeking approval which allows vehicles to enter from one side and exit from the other, rather than requiring to back into the busy park street down the slope driveway. The design will improve safety for vehicles entering and exiting the property, provide zero-step entry for family members with mobility issues and medical issues, match the character of surrounding homes which have similar roundabout driveways. The variance is necessary to meet both accessibility needs and the neighborhood consistency while enhancing safety throughout the year. So I don't know what else I should share. I do have a picture if anybody wanted to see the picture. I don't know. I should ask for comments from my lovely support.
We'll ask for them. But
Okay.
we're going to hear a staff report actually first from the Sheboygan City. Does it work?
So the variance that we're looking to grant on this one would be 2 access points. Only 1 access point is allowed per street in these residential areas. And the second variance that looks like would be required is if there is an instance where a driveway is permitted, a second driveway access point, you would need at least 100 feet between those access points. It does not appear we're going to be able to meet that 100 feet. Staff does not see a property hardship that any future residents of this property would have that would be solved by a second driveway access point.
Do we have a building inspection report?
Okay, just to give some history on this property, we did have a building permit application that was submitted 2022, 23 in that area requesting for this. It was denied. That is not something that meets our ordinances, so therefore it was denied. At that time, we did not permit sidewalks or patios. And because of that, they did choose to put in a widened sidewalk. And we're just instructed that no driving could be taken on that it is just purely a sidewalk. Since then, the ordinances have been updated and we have put in maximum widths for sidewalks. So what you see is supposed to be a sidewalk. It was not permitted to be a driveway.
Do we have, do we have a recommendation from the city?
Staff would not recommend approval based on a lack of property hardship.
Do you have any neighbors that would like to speak on the issue?
So I'm confused. I don't understand at all what's going on here. So I know I don't.
Can you talk into the microphone?
I'm very confused. I know I felt like it was a little bit of mumbling, and I just am not clear on what's happening or what you're saying. Are you clear? No. Okay, so when you were talking.
Got to talk in the microphone, honey. When
you were talking, I guess if you could slow down and explain to me what you said from beginning to end, and break it down for us to understand, because I don't.
So there are two variances that are being requested here. One is the second driveway,
Okay.
the second access point to the property, which is not allowed per zoning ordinance. And the second is the distance between two driveways, which you didn't give us those measurements, but it doesn't appear that we're gonna meet the distance between two access points if they were to be allowed, which is 100 feet. So
There is definitely more than 100 feet between the two driveways.
that may
Okay.
be, you did not give us that. If something's
I
approved
do have
without
it,
that.
actually. It's right here.
Yep, I've seen that.
Oh.
It doesn't show me the measurement between the two driveways.
The measurements,
The distance between the two driveways. Yep, so do you have a measurement from here to here?
so because I didn't come with a measurement, you're telling me you can't do this?
What I'm telling you is that that is a variance that we're gonna have to add to this
would become
request.
grass right here, okay?
Yep, so what I'm saying is that this would become a variance that we have to add to your request, because if that's not added, and this is more than 100 feet, then we still have issues. So it has to be added.
I would have done that prior if I knew that was an issue. I thought this was clear.
Well, that's why I'm adding it. That's why I added it as a variance, so that if it is approved, that we're not going, oh no, we don't have enough space.
So there's two issues. So the first issue is no property in the city of Sheboygan is allowed to have two driveways. So that's the first issue. The second, and you have to prove some sort of hardship for us to agree to that. Okay? So that's the first issue. The second one that's just added in here is just because of that measurement. We're not sure if there's enough feet between those two. So if the first one gets approved, the second one would be automatically as well. That's not going to be really the issue. The issue is you're not allowed two driveways. So
And
that's why we talked to,
I mean, that's why I'm here, because it was my understanding that if I ask for this, so you're saying, what would be a hardship then that, I mean, I don't, can you define hardship for me, I guess?
A property hardship is going to be a hardship that this specific property cannot possibly accommodate to continue the intended use of a property, and that every occupant of this property is going to have the same hardship. So say if you have a property that's 30 feet wide, and you have a garage in the back, and you have a gravel driveway that leads to the garage, and you need a 3-foot setback, and you need a paved driveway, but you only have, say, 12 feet, you don't have, anyone who lives at this property either needs a paved driveway and they need that setback according to zoning ordinance. But if you don't have that space, everyone who lives in that house is gonna have the same issue of not being able to put in a legal driveway that goes to the garage that's on this property. So it's a hardship that's specific to the property, that everyone at this property, whoever lives there, is going to have the exact same hardship.
So I'm living in the property.
you have to talk in the microphone.
So I'm living in the property. Does anyone understand this? Can you help me?
I have a question.
So if you're going to talk, I'm going to need you to come to the podium. And just because, now I'm just going to explain, just because that was a recommendation from the city, that is the reason why you're coming to the board, to talk and explain, ask questions, have your neighbors that live in the neighborhood to be able to talk about it as well, for us on the board to make a decision. Just because that's a suggestion from the city or what they've done in the past doesn't mean necessarily that that needs to be our choice today, okay? You understand?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll hear from this gentleman, if you
Henry
could state
Miller.
your name.
Yep, Henry Miller, 515 Columbus Avenue.
Okay,
So has anyone from your department looked at past history up there of these existing drive-through driveways to see obviously, those people weren't under any hardship, but they built them as they were. So what is the history behind there's got to be 6 or 7 of them.
Sure. A lot of those properties could at one point been a part of the town of Sheboygan and annexed themselves into the city, and that's why they exist. We don't know for sure if that's the case, because the property right next to you does have a roundabout driveway. So I'm aware of, we're aware of that as far as the committee is concerned. But that, we don't know for sure if those were in the town then annexed to the city, and that's the reason why they exist. Does the city or the board, the building department have any indication? Like, do you know if the neighbor was in the town at any point?
That is not something I looked at, because we're not looking at that.
Sure.
We were looking at this property. It didn't meet what the ordinance was, so therefore it was denied. I don't look at the neighboring properties to see if they received a variance or if they were annexed in. I can also say that if it was done prior to the ordinance that is in place, 20-some years ago, they may have been allowed to do it. But my guess is it was probably annexed in.
To the town, okay.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name is Carrie Green, and I live at 3015 Evergreen Parkway. Clearly, I'm nervous as well. I don't even know where I live.
We won't bite, we promise.
Thank you. Okay. I want to speak to the hardship piece. I have a young family, teenage drivers and young adults, and I can speak to the hardship piece with her particular property. I also grew up playing in that neighborhood and in that house. So it is right across from the soccer park, which has loads of traffic. And when my newest driver, who's only been driving 2 months, started to drive, I said, you need to be very careful driving right by Beth's house, because there are kids coming and going constantly from that soccer park. Soccer balls are flying between the cars. Beth's father, elderly father, and herself are, not that you're elderly, Beth, but they are always coming and going from this driveway, and it is a very difficult space because cars, you wouldn't believe it's a quiet street. However, they whip around our street like you can't imagine many times of the day and night. So I used to put out cones in front of my house, probably not PC either, but I did for the safety of my kids when they were younger, because there is a lot of traffic that circles right around there. You wouldn't think it because it's a quiet street. It also goes unlit at nighttime. I've called the city on multiple occasions when the sun is going down. We have one street lamp that is by Beth's house, but the amount of traffic that comes in, the light was out. So it's an incredibly dark space. So I understand her concern. She lost her husband 3 years ago to cancer. She's already gone through, having to deal with hardship and coming and going with mobility issues to and from that property under very difficult circumstances. We're not getting any younger, so I'm sure she's looking ahead to her own future. So I think any owner of this property would be concerned. It is on a slope, and it is icy. We've gone over and we've helped shovel at times and put sand down, especially after she lost her husband. So there is that concern. That is the only access point to her home to get there. So she can pull her car into the garage. I think there's room for 1 car, maybe 2, if it's cleaned out, but that is it. So anyone coming and going from her property needs to walk uphill, and we know what the climate's like here. Hoping that she can get shoveled. So there is that access point that's really concerning, and her father's elderly, as are any other guests coming and going. I wouldn't want to climb it, and I frequently visit her, and I am walking across the snow to get to her driveway. So I say that. I don't have I'm one of the few properties on our street that does not have a roundabout driveway. I wish I did, because every time I'm backing up, we don't have sidewalks on our street either. So I have, fortunately, a car that stops. Now, again, I have a new driver that does not have that thing, so I cannot tell you what I've been drilling into my own kids. You need to be careful, because we cannot see these cars that are whipping around. There is no sidewalk, once again. And yet we do have a lot of families who enjoy our street because it is quiet. Quieter off the 6th Street, which is extremely busy, so they love to cut in. So I share all this in the context of access, ongoing issues that I do think are a concern. What Beth started with this, I'm trying to understand it myself of what's going on, but completing that roundabout driveway just absolutely makes sense. I feel like the aesthetic, we're going to be redoing our own landscaping. This is an investment in her property, but it's an investment in our neighborhood, and it's an investment in our community. Right now, this is not what she intended. This is not a functional space by any means for any great purpose. So to complete that driveway would really lend itself to the aesthetic of the neighborhood, to the aesthetic of her home, which only increases her value, the value of the community and our neighborhood, and it just makes safety sense. So thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Any other neighbors? Come to the podium.
Thank you for your time. My name is Kimberly Meller. I live at 515 Columbus Avenue, Sheboygan, Wisconsin. For a time, I was also on your committee here, and I am currently on the Plan Commission. Beth Gottwald is a neighbor, and I guess I don't really view her neighbor or her driveway as being having two driveways. It's a circular driveway. I know both Beth and her father, and as her father is aging, she takes great care of him, makes him meals, they come and go. She has other older relatives. This would just really ease in their transportation needs for what they need to get in and out of the house. It will not take away from the neighborhood by any means. Her home has been recently upgraded with beautiful landscaping, and that's what she wants to do. There are many of these driveways in our immediate neighborhood that have the drive-through feature. I don't believe we were ever annexed. That area was not annexed from the town of Sheboygan, so they were put in at a time where that was what they were doing for these houses with the circular drives. I think it would be very nice if we could get this covered today and let Beth finish her driveway through to the street. I also can attest to the fact with the kids who just drive like crazy up through the neighborhood. They're going way too fast. They're not paying attention. They've been at the lake. They access the lake through that park. Other things happen while they're down there. It can be quite frustrating at times with how much traffic there are from young drivers who aren't probably paying much attention. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nervous. Sorry. Hi, Marcia Hildebrand. I live at 3004 Evergreen Parkway. I'm Beth's neighbor directly to the north. I have a circular drive. Everyone else has talked about the traffic, but our street is very popular because of its proximity to the lake for dog walkers, bikes, people with baby buggies and, that strollers. And so we do have a lot of foot traffic as well. And I'm thankful that I don't have to back up into our street. I use the circular drive every day for safety. And I think it would look very nice.
Was your property ever in the town? Do you know?
No, I don't know.
Okay.
It's just north of the hospital.
I know where this is. I'm very familiar where it is.
So was the hospital, when it was built, in the town of Sheboygan?
That I don't know. We'd have to look
Because
that
our
up.
neighborhood was built after the hospital.
Sure. Just because, and just because you don't have sidewalks, I used to own a property on North A Street over there. Just because you don't have a sidewalk doesn't mean it's necessarily in the town. It's very common over there for that location specifically to not have sidewalks, even though they're located in the town. Or I mean in the city, I'm sorry.
Right. Okay, well, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I have a question about the safety aspect of coming out onto the street. Is the concern that you have to back out into a busy street and you want to be able to pull forward into it?
Correct. Right now, you back out into the busy street. This way, you'll be able to come through.
Okay. From what I can tell from the photos, maybe we can get some of the driveway entrance. It looks like there's a very large blacktop area where it's possible to turn around and reorient the vehicle before leaving the driveway? Is that not a possibility?
There's no way you could turn around a vehicle in that driveway. You can barely back out of the vehicle with the wall right there.
Well, the vehicle that I'm seeing in this photo looks like it's been backed into that spot. It seems that if you were to back down the driveway, you could back into that spot and then pull forward into the street. Is that inaccurate?
You have a little narrow, so it comes out, you narrow, and then you come straight out. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so the current position of the vehicle, it seems that could be achieved by backing down the driveway, turning into that spot, and then pulling forward if safety is a concern, if you can't back out.
So you're suggesting, for me, that I back out, so just for me, not for other people?
No, what I'm saying is that it looks to me from this photo that there's a very large area in that blacktop space, a space where you could back down the driveway and have enough space to turn around. Where I'm coming from is that as I look at this, there is a long driveway and it is up a hill, but that's a property feature, unfortunately. And so it's a feature of this property that the house is set far back and that it's set up on a slope. And I don't think that the original design of the house, I assume it was intended to remain elevated like that for a nicer view. But I don't think that justifies a variance for the driveway regulations. That's a property feature that was built in from the start. So any house that sits up on top of a slope is going to have that. And I don't think that it's sufficient grounds to grant a variance if the driveway is within legal construction, just because the house was set back and up on a slope. That's a common property feature.
The goal for this has nothing to...
So Beth, why don't you explain what your plan is for that current driveway? That might maybe help the board a little bit more understand. Like, are you going to be shortening this driveway? Okay, step to the microphone and explain to us a little bit more clearly what your plan is.
So at the entrance, there is a little spot.
The current entrance?
Yes, the current entrance. There is a little spot that parking looks like there could be parking there. Mm-hmm. It's a little confusing for people at the park who think they can park there, which is not appropriate. So that is an issue for me. But the goal would be to take away and equalize, and I do have it in the drawing. So that section in the corner where you see me, there's a square section that would all become grass right there.
Okay.
So right now, that is just blacktop. People from the park think they can park there, but they can't. It's my personal property.
So you have found people parking in that spot? That's an issue.
Okay.
That's an issue.
Are we able to see a photo of the area that would be covered over, just to verify, of the blacktop that would be turned to grass?
Oh.
Okay, so that would resemble a normal driveway entrance. With the proposed changes, that blacktop would all be gone, and it would be just a standard width driveway.
No, yep.
Okay.
Okay, continue.
So if you...
Step to the microphone so we can
If you go back to
hear
that
you.
picture, I think it's easier to see actually from that one. So where that car is, in the other drawing, that whole section would be gone and it would be grass. And then that is the old walkway.
Okay.
The new one is, and it was okay to be permitted at that point. They were still allowing double wide, is a drivable pathway to where you saw in the other picture. So that would go, and where it looks like a patio, which I've been using it as a patio, right there. Mm-hmm. So you could drive through, and then that patio, it looks a lot bigger than it is in real life. It's not a very big space. We'll just come through so you can drive-through, basically.
drive-through instead of backing
So-
out.
So that is the goal.
Question for the city. According to that overhead view, it looks like that extra blacktop area that would be removed and grassed over is outside the property line. Is that going to be any kind of an issue?
It is outside the property line. It's not an issue